we've got a guy that's coming on that cemented a pretty solid legacy in Carolina for 4 years. And it's weird to say for 4 years because with the way college football is now, guys usually get 5, 6. I think we've got a guy on our team this is his
seventh year.
Yeah, seventh
seventh
season of college football. But what our guest tonight was able to do within his 4 years at Carolina was, we were talking about it before we got going on, and before we fired up the live, that this guy was a part of a historic time at Carolina, a really, really good run. Competed for the ACC Championship in 2015. And to Carolina fans, reality, we all know what happened, at the end of that game. But we're gonna get into all that. Trevor, you wanna drop the video for him, and then we'll bring him in.
Let's do it. Yeah. We'll add it in here. Let's see. And you guys watching live, y'all can comment, make a prediction of who you think it is here. So look at this. We'll have to ask him what his favorite clip was. But look at that hit, bro. I hope he can see it.
Yes,
so
sir.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring him in here. So
yes, sir. None other than the man himself, Mr. Shakeel Rashad, folks.
What's up, y'all? How's it going?
What's up, my guy? Hopefully you can see this clip here, man. We tried to pull what we thought would be one of your favorites. So where's that rank of all time?
It's up there, man, for sure. It's up there. There was one of my favorite clips, actually two of them, are plays that I feel like they weren't this visibly cool, like this plays well on video. One was against Miami. I want to say it was down towards the blue zone. And I loved it because, there's a guy right there, Shotmer 10. We played really well together. Still one of my best friends to this day. We were at a wedding together a couple weeks ago, talking about plays and stuff from games. But there's a play against Miami, or pre-snap, you can see us looking at each other, pointing, hey, stretch this way. And we run together. He boxes it. It turns back into me, and I take the guy out. It's a pretty big hit. And then there was another one that was like a chase down roll tackle against Wake Forest when, forget his name, but they went to their backup quarterback who ran 4.3. And I think that's just one of my favorites because I was like, yo, I kind of caught a dude that ran 4.3. Let's go. I can kind of move.
Bro, you boys were balling.
Hey, play that clip one more time, Trev, if you can.
Yeah, what you
I want to keep an eye on my guy. Watch the coverage here. Watch the coverage. Look, he sees it.
He saw it right away.
Raises it,
cute on that. You cute on that running back the whole time. Is that your guy? You're on the backer.
Yep, my job right there is the second guy to run to the weak side of the formation. He was number 2, so he's mine all the way.
Yes, sir.
So I see you got that look right there on the quarterback. You see balls coming out. Boom. That's perfect, bro. I bet in today's game, I will say they probably would have called a timeout. We got a review, make sure it ain't targeting.
Yeah,
but that's perfect,
man.
Somebody's saying something, but that was.
I'm up in the stands screaming, "It's legal! It was a legal hit!"
And then they make a set for 10 minutes just to show a commercial, and then play on.
Yeah.
That's
I think
sick,
one of my favorite things about that play that is kind of I don't want to say an inside joke, but an inside celebration. The hand, this one, the finger thing. Yeah. We had some vicious beach volleyball games that we used to play over summer. And that was always my thing in beach volleyball. So you spike a ball on somebody's head and you look at him, you say, count it. You're telling them yo, that hit the ground, count it. Yeah. And Jeff was one of the volleyball guys with us. So that was kind of our celebration from volleyball courts over summer.
I could definitely see Jeff Schottmer playing beach volleyball. I could definitely see that. No, man. Shakeel, super excited to have you on, brother. I want to touch, we had touched base on this before we got going here about, what we're about at the Tar Pit Podcast, not only covering UNC football and only UNC football, we're tapped into, the deepest roots of the fan base. So super excited to have you on to chop it up about our linebacking, room this year, our linebacker room this year. But, one of the reasons why we started this thing is to give, guys like yourself that have cemented a legacy at Carolina. We're a part of, a really good team, some really good years of Carolina football, to give you guys a platform as well to come back on, tap back into the Carolina faithful, let them know what's been going on with you guys after Carolina, and also talk about your time in Chapel Hill. So that's where we're going to start, and then we'll ease into the linebacker, the room this year. But yeah, man,
before we do that, Troy, I want to add one thing. So, we got Belichick now, so there may be some fans that have came on board that didn't really know about Shaq. So I want to say I'm gonna read off some stuff here. So
yeah, fire away, Trey.
So played in 43 career games at North Carolina, including all 14 games your standout senior year. So senior year, Shaq, you were racking it up, man. Second on the team, 126 tackles, led the team with 8.5 for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and then listen to this stretch. So final 4 games, bro. 56 tackles, including a career high 16 in your last game against number 17 Baylor. And then in this game will come up, but I don't want to talk too much about it. But ACC Championship game, 12 tackles and a tackle for loss. So, bro, you were balling out. So just so that the fans know, we got a legend here with us tonight. So we appreciate you, man, coming on. But tell us what. So I kind of know we talked a little bit before, but what are you up to these days?
Yeah, man, still geeking out on football. So I've kind of, after I got done at UNC, I went and I played for the Texans for a year. Had an awesome time. Like I always joke that they cut me from that team before my cup of coffee got cold, because it was quick, right? It's just like you always dream of making the NFL and you stick around for a decade, and it didn't work out that way for me. But not bitter about it. Incredible experience, and I think I learned a lot about the game of football too in that time. So really enjoyed that. But then came back and ultimately went in, coached at UNC for a year. So I was there for that 2018 season. Jeff and I were on that staff together. Quinshaw Davis was there too. I'm going to butcher some people. Alex Mars was there. Alex Marsh was there. Man, I'm going to forget some people, but there were quite a few guys on that team, on that staff that had played there for those years when I was in school. So it's a fun year to be around. Ultimately, the recruiting and the high school relationships part of high school coaching just wasn't for me long term. Right. I freaking loved the football part of it. I could have sat in that office from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. every day. That wouldn't bother me one bit. Something about calling high schoolers at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday. I was like, yeah, man, I don't think this is for me long term. So got out of coaching, man, but never went far. I've for work, I've kind of just moved over to the sports side of things. So I work on the other side of the sports business, I guess I'll say. But along the way, I actually did come back and was starting the collective at UNC. And now I'm seeing up here one of the more recent things that I've done. I mentioned that I'm still geeking out on football, still a giant nerd for it. One of my buddies, Dan Casey, shout out Dan. He's had an incredible platform. If you don't follow him already and you're a football fan, go find Coach Dan Casey on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Follow him. He's putting out awesome stuff. But it always been offensive focused. So we kind of worked together on this project for defense. And so it's called Trends in Defensive Football. This is volume 1. You can expect a volume 2 coming out early 2026 too. But what it is just went through really the trends, looked at some of the top defenses across the country in college and the NFL last season, watched a whole bunch of their tape, watched a ton of the teams, and kind of broke it down to see, hey, what are these teams doing when the game's on the line? That's working well. What are the common threads across all these top defenses? And that's what's in that book. So it's really kind of you've probably heard coaches talk about cut-ups before. For anyone that hasn't played football, cut-ups are kind of what coaches will watch. You'll go in and it's just film. They cut up the series of film and everything. That's what this is. It's really a cut up on paper. And so what you'll find is every play in there's a write-up on the right. It's kind of 2 paragraphs of me just being excited to talk about what's happening. On the left, you'll have a diagram and a picture showing you kind of the schematic side of things, what's going on. There's a QR code beneath it. You scan the QR code, it'll take you to the play and you can watch it. So for all
Troy, how sick is that, bro?
That's pretty cool. So I didn't know that it was that in depth. I didn't know about until he told me. That is sick, bro. So tell us about how folks, obviously this book has got to be for purchase, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's available on Amazon. You can go on Amazon and then you can buy it right through there. And then I think it's also on Dan's website. So Coach Dan Casey is the website, and he sells it through Shopify there. But Amazon's probably the quickest way to get your hands on it.
I just followed Coach Dan Casey on Twitter while we were doing this. So.
I did the other day when you posted this book, or it might have been a week or whenever you posted it, dude. I was like, let me look into this. I looked up Coach Dan Casey. I was like, dang, this is huge, man. This is pretty sick, dude.
Sharp guy, really sharp guy.
Yeah, and I was telling him, Troy, before we came on, man, we're big NCAA guys, right? I told him
I heard y'all talk. I
got to get something like this so I can try to beat some of these kids that are beating me, dude. Read defenses, so I'm gonna be picking up me a copy, man. But that's awesome, dude. So staying involved with the game.
Have to. I'm actually tomorrow morning. I live down in Charleston now, and tomorrow morning, of course, you move to a new city. The first thing you got to do is get connected with the high school football coaches, right? So I did that, and then went to a couple games last year just to watch teams just for fun. There's some really good players around here. ended up getting connected with one of the other high school coaches and going to speak with them tomorrow morning just to like talk ball. They got some time in the off season.
Bro.
They like football. I like football. Figure let's link up and talk football together.
It sounds like you might be doing some coaching down the road at some point.
Maybe a little bit. We'll see. I didn't know if I could commit to it this year. So I was like, hey, man, like, I'll help however I can. I think we're going to actually go through a lot of the ideas and things from this book, honestly, see if there's anything that's a fit for them. But yeah, maybe I could get into some coaching down the road. But right now it's just, conversations here and there.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll clip this. And because, college football is very analytics driven now. There's an analytics guy on I think dang near every sideline now. Yep. So we're gonna clip this, and whenever you're ready to get into it, just let us know, and we'll send it to Bill or Lombardi or something. Yep. And we'll which I know you being a Carolina guy, I'm sure you may probably make a couple phone calls and
he's right in there,
and you're right in there.
It's a 40-year decision, right?
The joke I always tell about this, man, is that when Butch Davis, crazy to say Butch Davis, he was like 19 coaches ago, but when Butch came and recruited me for the first time, I remember he came down and I committed to it. I had already been to campus. I loved the place. I told him, I was like, dude, you guys are never going to get rid of me in Chapel Hill. And so it's funny now, like we talk about the 40-year decision. Like, I was dead serious. I told him, you will never get rid of me. And it's funny, that conversation was 2010 probably. And so 15 years later, still doing everything I can to be around and be involved, because I really do love that fan base. I love the family. I love it all, man.
And that's cool to hear, man, because we've had like guys that are recruits just now committed and they haven't even made it to campus yet. So they're like, yeah, but to hear you like, yeah, man, what they tell you is true, man. Tar Heel for life. That's sick, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to kind of dive into that a little bit before we get going on the linebacker room for this season, man. You were a part of a great stretch of football there for a little bit, from 2012 to 2015. Trevor listed out your personal stuff, but talk to us about that time in Chapel Hill. I can tell you from a fan standpoint, like, I love nothing more than to go and be inside of Kenan. So let me ask you this, because I just had it on my brain before we went live here. The tar pit, that's what you guys referred to as the student section during your time there, right?
Yep, that was a Larry Fedora classic.
Yeah, so that's why. So the name, the tar pit, originated for me, because I always loved that. Like, I remember you guys and Marquise and Bug and Ryan and TJ and all those guys referring to Kenan as the tar pit. So to me, and just the swag that you guys played with throughout those years, man, it was just a different breed of football. And the tar pit to me kind of meant, kind of get it out the mud, that Rude Boys and and LB Brick Squad, and that you guys referred to the receiving corps as freaks. That was with Coach Brew.
That's right.
So yeah, man, that's the tar pit. That means a lot to me and to our guys as well. But talk to us about your time in Chapel Hill from a football standpoint. Obviously a part of some great success there. I want to kind of dive into that with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, man, for sure. And it was a journey. Like, it really was. And I look back to like every year of it felt like fighting for your life every year, man. I went to a small school in Jacksonville. Like, my older brother, 8 years older than me, he was in the NFL by the time I was playing in high school. So it was really cool to have like a mentor to look up to, kind of give me advice on how to pick the right school and everything. But ultimately felt like I did with UNC. And so I worked my freaking butt off to get there early, man, because I wanted to play as a freshman. And so I remember in like 10th grade, after I committed to UNC, the first thing I did was I went to my high school, small private school. I went to our headmaster. I was like, hey, can I graduate early? I got to get up out of here. I got to be a spring ball in March of 2012. And they were awesome about it. They worked me, did everything I could. So I started taking summer school classes in high school so I could graduate early. End up doing that. I get there in January, and man, I'm so locked in. I'm ready to work my freaking butt off and try to go earn a job as a freshman. And I knew I was underweight already. I showed up at like 210, 215. I was like, I got to put on some weight if I want to play linebacker in college, and immediately tear my meniscus. So I have surgery, and I'm sitting there like, bro, I might have been better off staying in high school. Like, now I'm hurt.
Pumping the brakes a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like, is it too late? Can I go back home now?
Yeah.
But no, like, honestly, that might have been an even more important time for me. I think that what came out of it was really cool. What I ended up, obviously tearing my meniscus, it wasn't too bad. So I was only down for like 3 months. So I did miss that first spring ball, but I was back early enough that I could just lift. So I went from 215 I showed up at. I had surgery. I went down like 205. So I'm sitting there and probably late February at 2:05, and they're telling me, yo, you got to be 230 plus if you want to play this season. It ain't happening. So between the March and probably May to June of that year, I gained 30 pounds, cut fat, put on 30 pounds, and it was all in the weight room. And I honestly don't know if I could have put on all that weight if I had also been out on the field sweating, because I sweat like a freak, man. So like, I don't know that I could have held on all that weight. So it really was kind of a blessing that I got injured in that way. And I think in that time too, there were a couple other guys dinged up. So I made some really good relationships with like older Tar Heels that I look back on now and I'm like, I may have never been that close to this guy had we not been rehabbing at the same time. Like Devin Ramsey was like a 19th year senior before it was cool when I got there. and Dev was rehabbing a knee at the same time. And like, we're super tight. And Dev, like, he got to UNC probably, all right, I'm going to stop messing with him now, but realistically, probably like 2007. So like 2006, maybe even before that. But like, we're still tight. I never get to meet that guy and to get to know him like this if I'm not rehabbing that way. So it's really cool. And the weight I put on did give me a chance. So I started playing. I remember I was starting in nickel, starting my freshman year. Me, Norkeithus Otis, and Dion Guy were splitting reps that year. Had a really good time. 8-4 freshman year. We felt like we could have done more. Gio was out for, I believe, 3 of our 4 losses, if not all 4, and they were all tight games. So you never like to look at one thing and say, that was the reason. But if our best player's on the field, I think we win probably 2 more of those games at least.
My bad. Didn't he? He was out like the beginning of that year, and then he came back for the Miami game, I think it was, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the exact games, but yeah, he had an ankle early. I know he was out against Wake, and we lost that by 1. He was out against Louisville. We lost that on the last play of the game. But yeah, and then if you remember, that was the same year that when he did come back, he wasn't returning punts at first, and then he snuck back onto the field for that NC State punt return.
I was going to say that was a big moment that year, right?
That was huge, man. That was huge. And so, yeah. So we came out of that year with a lot of momentum. I won't lie, man. We were really excited about 13. We knew we were losing some talented guys. And I don't know, the 6-win season next year wasn't what we were looking for. We went to a bowl game, win the Belk Bowl. It's good. We were excited. We felt like we were like, okay, we got some momentum now. We're really doing this. And then in 14, got off to a slow start. And I think that the end of 14 played more into how we played in 15 than I think any of us ever acknowledged until, honestly, just now is when I thought about it, because I've never really said it out loud thinking about it this way. But if you remember, I think we started off like 1-4, 1-5 in 2014. And then we finished the season like 5-1 or something like that. Like we finished that year hot. And I think we realized, like, man, a lot of the guys that were a part of us coming back, we definitely lost some pieces, but a lot of guys that are part of that, they were coming right back that year. And we kind of had that gut-wrenching feeling from when we left 12 and thought we were going to be something in 13 and it didn't work out. And so now you got a team in 14 who just finished hot. A lot of the guys that are going to play meaningful roles in 15 were also on those earlier rosters where you felt like you'd underachieved. And we didn't feel like we really looked outward. We didn't really feel like we were like looking to some miracle to happen. Like we just went to work that offseason. And it wasn't a thing that we like sat there and talked about all the time. We just went to freaking work. I don't think we realized how good we were until like week 10 of that 15 season. Like dead serious. I remember the day that we're sitting there in linebacker rooms on a Sunday, and Coach Fedora and our entire coaching staff did a phenomenal job of us really focusing on one game seasons. Like we're worried about this week. You lose a game, we learn from it. Worried about this week right now. So we weren't sitting there in week 6. And I remember a lot of the conversation now and being confused about it, but a lot of conversation like, how come they're not ranked higher? How come that is? We weren't worried about any of that stuff. Like we were just like, how do we beat this team that we played today? It was like the question we were asking. And I remember in week 9, week 10, something like that, we're sitting in meetings on a Sunday, ready to watch film of the game we played the day before. And JP walks in, John Papuchis walks in the linebacker room. He starts like writing on the board the games that are left. And he's like, guys, I'm not suggesting anyone look ahead or anything, but like, he's like, you guys realize like you're like 8-1 right now. Here's what you got left. And you handle these things like everything's ahead of you. Because that's not a conversation we had before. Like we weren't used to that conversation. We'd had some competitive years before, but it wasn't that everything's ahead of you. There's at that point, you're 8-1, you're in a power conference, you got a shot to play in a conference championship game, you got a shot to make the playoff, you got a shot to win it all. And so that was when we realized it. And I think that the swagger did kick in a little bit more then. Like that. I remember Duke played Miami the week before we played Miami that year. Miami was senior day. And the day before we played Duke. So Duke and Miami played the day before we played Duke. And that's when they had that miracle back and forth or throwing the ball all over the field. A bunch of us were watching that game together, man. And I remember Duke was ranked at the time. We were ranked. And we were sitting there and like rooting for Duke. Like we were sitting there rooting for Duke because we were like, we want them to come to our place ranked next week. Like we want you walking into our place ranked so we can show the world what we're about to do. And I remember that moment being like, we're a pretty freaking good football team. We're sitting here rooting for other people to win so they can come to our place and we beat up on them next week.
Yeah, that was a fun time, man. Just that whole that team that year just had it. You talk about the swagger and getting it. I like to refer to it as getting it out the mud. I mean that team just had it. They had that spark, and led us to Charlotte. Obviously, that didn't work out in our favor. I still call highway robbery, and I was telling you this. Before we went live and Trevor and I were talking about it, I remember exactly where I was watching that kickoff, and just sitting there biting my freaking fingernails, like hoping that you just kind of get the vibe that it's going to go one way, and then it does, and then you just it kills your mood with the call. But talk about that experience, man. That was a big moment for Carolina football. I remember going to camps in Chapel Hill, and Lou Hernandez was y'all's strength and conditioning coach, I believe, at the time. Yep. And dude just comes over there and introduces Coach Fedora, leading the Heels to a 2015 Coastal Division champ and an ACC title game appearance. That was a big deal for Carolina football. Talk to us about that moment, and what that meant for that team, and kind of give us a deep dive into that.
Yeah, man, it was special. And
I don't want to open up old wounds or anything, but
I was about to say, I'd be lying to you if I said sitting here that it still doesn't hurt that we didn't win it, because we really did feel like we could play with anyone in that game. It proved it. We were they were number one team in the country, undefeated. And I look back at that game, and what's interesting is I don't sit here and I think about the kickoff, of course, the onside kick, but I don't after that start thinking of phenomenal plays that they made and all these miraculous things they did. I think of mistakes that we made. I'll raise my hand too. I think of the mental errors I had. I think of the missed tackles I had. And so you think about the fact that man, it was all right there, which is all you can ask for, the opportunity to go win it. And you got to execute. And when you're playing an elite team like that with guys like they had on that team, you don't get the opportunity to make mistakes. Offense lit it up. They started lighting up that scoreboard in the second half. So it hurts after a season of where we prided ourselves on playing great on defense and coming up big in moments. It hurts that the offense lit it up and we couldn't win it. Excuse could be that, no, they're number one Heisman trophy. Well, who cares, man? Our job was to go out there and get more stops than we did. Didn't happen. But I'd say 10 years removed, it hurts a little bit less. I'll cry a little bit less when I think about it. But it's, man, it was really cool and really fun. And honestly, I'll say again, you get caught up in the moment. You don't think about it. I wasn't sitting there thinking we're this, we're that. It wasn't until I specifically remember, it was 2018 when Jeff and I are sitting together on coaching staff. We're sitting on our back porch in Chapel Hill, getting ready to start coaching at UNC together. And we start talking about that 2015 season. And that's the first time that we saw a promo video that was playing that week. We saw highlights that were playing that week. We saw an interview that we had done with ESPN. We were blocking out all that crap. So we didn't really experience any of it until 2018. To us, it was just another football game.
Hey, you guys it may not have went your way, but forever in history books. So y'all
cemented.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was, dude, I would say, dude, what was it? Drake's first year starting, we made it there, but that's the only time in forever, bro. So forever in history.
I gotta ask y'all. So what was y'all's favorite moment or favorite game from that season? Because I have a favorite game that, hot take, may not even be the Clemson one.
My moment is probably was that the year against Duke, the flea flicker to start the game?
Yep, it was.
That one's probably my favorite moment, dude. That was sick. And I'm and Larry, with that offense, dude, that's kind of what got me. It was like video game. Yeah. And I was bro, I want to be an offensive coordinator one day. Honestly, just to do stuff like
defense. We didn't know that was coming. So it was a long drive we had. I think we had a long drive. We dragged that thing out. Bend don't break was kind of the mentality. That's kind of defense we played that year. And it was long drive. They may have gotten a field goal off, may not have gotten it, whatever it was. But we felt good coming off the field. All right, we got off the field, first drive, cool. We knew they were going to tempo us some, but they did. They hit us. And then we get to the sideline gassed, and we sit down. And I immediately, 30 seconds later, remember someone just being it's kickoff ready. I was yo, there's no way. What just happened? There's no way they scored already. Stadium's going nuts. And they'd called a flea flicker.
That is sick, bro. And now is the Geo punt return, was that same year?
That was 2012.
Okay. 2012. I didn't think so. I was going to say that one would be there, but then that would probably be the other one for me. What you got, Troy?
I'd probably say going to Raleigh and beating the mess out of the Wolfpack that year. You got Elijah that runs for 220.
Yeah.
I mean, we put up 30. We put up 35 in the first half, I think it was. TJ was burning them. I think they came back towards the end, but
they did.
Yeah, but that, I mean, the guys joke with me because I've brought up NC State more than one time on this podcast. But
we're hurt right now, bro. We're hurt.
Yeah. So. Anytime I can relive a beat down of the Wolf Puppies, I'm quick to do it. So,
dude, mine has got to be again ACC Championship. We pull that out of it though. It's that Virginia Tech game. Going to Virginia Tech, and what was on the line for us was we knew we weren't afraid to go play NC State at their place or anything, but we could control our own destiny. Yep. If we won in Blacksburg, we won the ACC Coastal. If we win in Blacksburg, we're going to the ACC Championship. Doesn't matter what anyone else does. That was important to us. And then it was Frank Beamer's last home game at their place, and we ended up going to overtime. Man, that place was buzzing. That's about as loud as I've heard a stadium.
Is that the loud? I was going to say Sam did an NFL interview, and he was like, "Well, the loudest stadium was probably Virginia Tech when I was in college, so that's the loudest you've ever been."
Yeah, that stadium, Virginia Tech, Beamer's last home game, and I'll remember we went to overtime, and I called the coin toss for us, and we ended up winning the coin toss. So we win the coin toss. We get to pick if we go first or second in overtime. I was like, yeah, we want to play defense first. And I'm feeling good about myself. I'm like, all right, let's go. Defense is going out first. Offense will know what they need. We get a chance to get in this thing in one drive. And one of their players started smiling. I'm like, what are they happy about? We won the coin toss. We're playing defense first. And the dude kind of grins, and he looks at the ref, and he's like, all right, well, and so we choose who goes first, and they choose where we do it. He points down there at the student section. I was like, brother, we're cooked. Good luck, offense. Good luck, offense. Y'all aren't hearing anything out there.
Hey, that's a crazy moment. That's a crazy moment.
Dude. Hey, it worked out.
Yep, it did.
Yeah, that's wild. That's pretty interesting to hear that from your side, because that was a big moment for that season, like you had mentioned. Because I remember that year talking with my dad. Because, Carolina at that time, we were on the run that we were on, or you guys were, I should say. I say we as fans, you know what I mean? Because
if you stick with us in the down years too, you get to say we. It's the people that'll jump ship on the down years. You don't get to say we. Exactly.
I remember telling my dad, I was like, we got to play Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech, and I was telling him about all the special things that were going on around that day. I said, man, I said, Carolina can beat Virginia Tech. I said, I just hope we don't. I said, because you always talk about the what ifs, you look ahead. It's easy to do that. I said, because if we win in Blacksburg, that's it. We don't really worry about what goes on in Raleigh. If we win in Blacksburg, we're going to Charlotte. I said, God Almighty, I said, if they can pull it out tonight, if they can pull it out this week, that'd be great. I said, because then we can go in, we don't have to really worry about what goes on in Raleigh. And not really discrediting you guys, but we're playing for an ACC championship regardless. But lo and behold, we sealed it, and we went down the very next weekend and beat NC State too. So that was you guys capped it off right.
Yeah, that was a fun season, man. Most fun sports season of my life, no question.
Hey, Tar Pit crew, thanks for hanging with us today. Quick shout out. Today's episode is powered by Untapped Sports Network. Big thanks to them for the support. If you like this episode, do us a favor. Like it, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. That kind of support goes a long way in keeping the podcast rolling. Make sure you're subscribed and following the Tar Pit Podcast on whatever platform you're listening on right now. And don't forget to follow us on social. We're on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search the Tar Pit Podcast and you'll find us. Until next time, go Heels.